Hi everyone, Dominique here with Nurturing Astrology. So as we arrive at the Aries Equinox on Friday, March 20th, the sun is going to be entering Aries, the beginning of the zodiac. Happy Astrological New Year, everyone. This is the beginning of a brand new cycle. And first up, the sun is going to be illuminating Neptune in Aries on the 21st, and then Saturn in Aries exact on March 24th. And this momentous meetup in the sign of Aries is going to be highlighting the themes of building new identity, courage, and personal authority. This is why I've been talking so much about breaking the mold and building the self. Because Saturn in Aries is asking us to mature our relationship with independence, leadership, and the way we trust ourselves and others. And one of the most helpful ways to understand how this will unfold in your life is to look at which house Aries occupies in your natal chart, because Saturn will be working there for the next 3 years. So today, I want to walk you through Saturn in Aries through the houses, so you can begin to start noticing where and how this new chapter of self-leadership is going to be unfolding for you. But first, I want to be really clear about what Saturn is, the qualities and characteristics that we're working with wherever Saturn is traveling. Saturn is about lessons, hard work, responsibility, pursuits of purpose, as well as the time, discipline, and maturity it takes to become the master of one's destiny and life path journey. And in Aries, the work becomes central around pioneering a new direction with more courage and confidence and drive based on the growth effort and learning that we've been doing so far in our lives. And this next chapter, you're going to feel like you want to be more in the driver's seat of your life. So with that, we also have to keep in mind the space on the other side of this equation, and that's Libra, the other. When we begin living from a new sense of personal authority, we're naturally going to be needing to do some redistribution of responsibilities to build more balance in our lives. The desire for independence will be strong for everyone. And so if everyone can appreciate this and step up, everyone can benefit. However, if you're in situations or relationships where there's pushback because you've over-obligated yourself or taken on more than your fair share, this is where things may get tough at times. So across the board, we'll be seeing this dynamic play out. This can also bring challenge, another Saturn signature, because change is not easy and it's often met with resistance before resolve. The Aries house it plays out in, along with its opposite Libra house, will be the specific areas of life where the pressure will be most felt and the most effort required for success and real growth for all involved. And as we move through these, you might also notice echoes of what I have been calling the authority story. This is where we learn to lead or comply or rebel or hide early in life. Saturn doesn't bring these things up to punish us. He brings them up so we can build something stronger and more authentic in its place. You can also go back and listen to all the videos I've already done on Saturn and Aries and the father wound for your sign, how it shows up, and even some ways to begin your healing journey. But for now, here's going to be a couple of notes to get you started, a couple of contemplation questions, and maybe an intention for Saturn and Aries through each of the houses. You can also listen for the house your natal Saturn lives in for deeper insight, because this is where you're going to be working with Saturn throughout your life, not just for the next few years. And this cycle with Saturn and Aries is ultimately part of that larger lesson and growth journey. Let's dive into Saturn and Aries through the houses. I'm going to give you a quick intro, some contemplation questions, an intention for the Saturn and Aries, and also an insight into how it could show up in relationship. If you have Saturn and Aries moving through your first house, this is a profound restructuring of identity. This is about authority over identity and learning to lead your life without armor or feeling like you need an armor. Many people with this placement begin to realize how much of their strength has been performed rather than truly lived. So you might ask yourself, who taught me what strength looks like? And where am I still performing instead of truly leading? Saturn here wants you to trust who you are and begin leading your life from the inside out. As that happens, the dynamic in your relationships begins to shift too. Because as you stop overperforming or overcompensating, you may also stop over-accommodating others. This can naturally create a redistribution in your relationships, because where others are now being asked, sometimes silently, to meet you in a more balanced place. And if that balance hasn't existed before, there may be some resistance before things settle into something healthier. If Saturn in Aries is moving through your second house, the focus is going to shift to worth and values. This is a long-term reorientation around standing in your worth and allowing your resources to reflect who you're becoming. You might want to explore, what did I learn about worth and value and money growing up? And am I allowing my resources to match the person I'm becoming? Saturn here builds a steadier relationship with value and self-trust in the material world. And as you begin to anchor into your worth, relationship dynamics around giving and receiving can start to shift. You may notice where you've been overgiving, overextending, or undervaluing yourself in partnerships. And as you recalibrate, others may feel that change. So this is where Saturn can bring some challenge, not because something is wrong, but because you're no longer relating from the same place. If Saturn in Aries is moving through your third house, this is the work around voice and expression. This is about claiming your voice and speaking with authority. You might reflect on, was my voice welcomed or dismissed early on? Or where am I ready to speak without having to ask for permission? This transit asks us to speak from a grounded, self-trusting place, even if our voice shakes at first. And as your voice becomes clearer and more direct, your relationships will feel that shift too. You may stop softening your truth or filtering yourself in the same ways, and that can change communication dynamics significantly, especially if others are used to you being more accommodating or agreeable. This is where the Libra side comes in, learning how to stay connected while also staying true to yourself. If Saturn in Aries is traveling through your fourth house, the work here moves into emotional roots and authority. This is about inner authority and emotional safety. You may find yourself reflecting on, what did safety mean in early environments? How do I create safety for myself now? Saturn here invites you to become the steady authority within your own inner world. And as you build that internal safety, your expectations and relationships are going to shift. You may no longer tolerate those dynamics that feel emotionally unstable or one-sided. And this can create rebalancing, especially in close relationships, especially within home and family. And again, if others are used to you holding more than your share emotionally, this adjustment can take time. If Saturn in Aries is moving through your fifth house, creativity and self-expression are maturing. This is about creative authority and giving yourself permission to shine. You might ask, was I encouraged to express myself freely growing up? And what wants to be expressed even without validation? Saturn here takes your joy seriously and asks you to commit to your creative fire. And as you do, you may notice shifts in how you show up in relationships. You're likely to stop seeking validation or approval in the same ways. You may take up more space, express more honestly, or prioritize your joy differently. And that can change relationship dynamics, especially if you've been the one dimming yourself to maintain harmony. If Saturn in Aries is moving through your sixth house, the focus here becomes your relationship with effort, discipline, and care. sustainable effort, and self-respecting discipline. You might explore, what did I learn about productivity and rest? And where could discipline become supportive rather than harsh? Saturn here teaches that consistency can be an act of self-respect. And as you begin to reorganize your daily life, your responsibilities and relationships will likely shift too. You may start setting clearer boundaries around your time, your energy, and your capacity. And if you've been carrying more than your fair share, this is where redistribution becomes very real for you. Others may need to step up, and that can bring both growth and friction as new patterns are established. If you have Saturn in Aries traveling through your 7th house of relationships, relationships become a direct arena for this work. This is about autonomy within partnership. And you may notice, who held power in my early relationships, and where do I tend to overgive, control, or disappear? Saturn here teaches how to stay fully yourself in relationship. Because here's the key, this isn't happening in isolation. As you shift into a stronger sense of self, the entire relationship dynamic is being restructured. This can bring up imbalance very clearly. If roles have been uneven, if you've over-obligated yourself, and if there's been dependency, Saturn will surface it. And while this can feel challenging, it's ultimately creating the possibility for much more balanced and conscious partnership. If you have Saturn and Aries moving through your 8th house, the work here becomes deep and more psychological. This is about power, vulnerability, and survival instincts. You might reflect on, where did power feel unsafe? What happens if I lose control just a little? Saturn moving through here invites you to move from survival-based control toward a steadier form of inner power. And in relationships, this can shift dynamics around trust and intimacy and shared responsibility. You may notice where control has been used to create safety, and as you begin to soften that, relationships are going to need to rebalance around trust and mutual support. This can feel vulnerable, but it's also where deeper connection becomes possible. If you have Saturn and Aries moving through your 9th house, your belief systems are changing and evolving. This is about reclaiming your truth. You might ask yourself, who taught me what to believe? What truths have I earned through lived experience? Saturn here matures your worldview, and it strengthens your inner authority. And as your beliefs shift, your relationships may reflect that. You may no longer resonate with certain perspectives, dynamics, or expectations anymore. And this can create distance or tension at first, but it's part of aligning your outer world with your inner truth. The Libra side asks, how do I stay in relationship while honoring what is true for me now? If you have Saturn and Aries traveling through your 10th house, leadership and visibility are coming into focus. This is about defining success on your own terms. You might explore, who defined success for me, and what kind of leader am I becoming now? Saturn here is going to mature your public role and your sense of authority in the world. And as you step more fully into that, your relationships will need to adjust. Responsibilities, roles, and expectations may shift, especially if you've been carrying certain dynamics for a long time, particularly in your home and family, which is the Libra side. There may be redistribution of support, visibility, or leadership within your life and partnerships. And again, this can bring both growth and resistance as new balance is created. If Saturn in Aries is moving through your 11th house, the focus here is on community and belonging. This is about authentic contribution. So you might reflect on, where did I learn to belong by conforming? Or how do I contribute without abandoning myself? Saturn here teaches you how to belong without betraying who you are. And as you begin to show up more authentically, your place within groups and relationships may shift. You may feel less willing to conform or overextend yourself for the sake of belonging. And this can naturally change your role in communities, friendships, and other collective spaces. Some connections may deepen and others may fall away, but all in the service of something more aligned. If Saturn is moving through Aries in your 12th house, the work here is much quieter and more internal. This is about hidden authority patterns and compassionate self-leadership. You might explore questions like, what authority patterns live beneath my awareness? Or how can I lead myself with more gentleness? This is slow and subtle work. While it may feel internal, it'll still ripple into your relationships. As unconscious patterns begin to shift, you may find yourself responding differently, less reactive, less self-abandoning, and more aware. And over time, this creates a quiet but powerful rebalancing in how you relate to others. No matter the house, this is the deeper work of Saturn and Aries, learning to trust yourself. And as you do, relationships will naturally reorganize around that truth. Because this isn't just about independence. It's about creating balance between self and other in a way that's more honest, sustainable, and real. And if you found this helpful, let me know in the comments which house is Saturn and Aries moving through for you. Did this resonate? And as always, thank you for being here and for doing this work with me. Sending you so much love and all the best on your personal growth journey with Saturn and Aries.